Hey y'all, I hope you are doing great today. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this fun little keychain charm to dress up that key ring of yours. This keychain charm is made with copper wire and a semi-precious stone tiger's eye bead. This project is definitely beginner friendly, so stick around and see how we make this fun creation. So here are the few materials that we're going to need for this project. First, we're going to need this 16 gauge wire that's cut at 35 centimeters, and some 20 gauge wire cut at 15 centimeters. We'll need this tiger's eye oval stone bead. It's a 25 by 18 millimeter bead, but you can use any type of stone you wish. We're also going to need some sort of keychain to attach your keychain charm to. We're going to need a pair of flush cutters. We'll need a pair of chain nose pliers. We're going to need a flathead plier if you choose, it's optional. We'll need a pair of round nose pliers. We're going to need a chasing hammer, a bench block, and that concludes our list of materials for this project. As usual, the materials list will be in the description of this video below. So now let's get started on this project. First, we're going to grab our 16 gauge wire that's cut at 35 centimeters and just bend this wire almost in the middle, leaving about maybe 2 centimeters longer on one end. And then we're just going to pinch that closed as much as we can. Then taking our flathead pliers or just your simple chain nose pliers, and just press that closed a little bit tighter. We want to leave just a little gap at the end here, so I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers and just push it closed just a little bit more, like so. Now grabbing my chain nose pliers, I'm going to grab at about 2 millimeters from the end of this little point there. I'm going to grab this top wire and bend it up almost perpendicular, not quite, like that. And then with my chain nose pliers, I'm going to grab just above where that bend is. And I'm going to take that top wire and bend it down, perpendicular with this bottom wire, like so. And then I'm going to grab on the other side of this bend and kind of straighten that wire and then push it back. That's just going to define that little turn, a little bit of a sharper turn there. Now placing the jaws of my chain nose back in just below that last bend, I'm going to bend this wire up parallel with that bottom wire. Now this part of the key is just making a series of hills and mountains and valleys, as I call it. So just be creative. So now I'm grabbing my chain nose pliers and I'm going to grab just to the inside or the bottom side of this top wire, just past that bend, and I'm going to bend it back up again at about a 45-degree angle. And then I'm going to grab just to the top side of that bend and bend the wire back parallel with the first wire. I'm going to make like a little stair step here. So now I'm grabbing right above that last curve and then bending up. And then I'm going to grab again above this last curve and bend it back down. And you can see there I've made like a little stair step, or what I call a little mountainside. And then I'm going to grab to the inside of this last bend or curve or whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to go back parallel with that bottom wire again. You see how that's starting to look like a key? All keys are different and unique, so you can make it any way you want. Now I'm grabbing at the inside of this curve, bending it back up again, and then I'm going to bend it back down again. So again, I'm making a little hill here. So I did a hill, a valley, a mountain, a valley, and a little hill. And I'm going back parallel again. There you can see that. Now I'm going to grab again on the flat side of this valley and start creating another little hill there. I'm going to grab to the inside of that bend and go parallel again with that bottom wire. Now this time we're going to do this a little bit different. Instead of going back down all the way here, we're going to go a little bit past the bend and bend it down. We're going to grab the round nose pliers, and on the inside of this bend, I'm going to grab a hold there, and I'm going to bend this wire all the way back once I get a hold of it. All the way back up like this, at a bit of an angle. And this is where the top of my key is going to start. So there you can see the shape of the bottom part of the key, or the key that goes into the lock. And now here I'm going to take a measurement from the inside of my little bend there, and I'm going to measure about 1 centimeter. So here you can see from 4 to 5 is 1 centimeter, and I'm grabbing where I'm measured that, and with my chain nose pliers I'm going to grab right where I measured that 1 centimeter mark and bend that wire straight up. And now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So grabbing my measuring tool, see here you can see that 1 centimeter. Now I'm going to measure 1 centimeter on the other side to mirror this side. So I've grabbed it at the 1 centimeter mark. I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers just to the inside of that mark and then bend that wire up. There you can see we're starting to take shape there. So again, we're going to grab a measuring tool and measure about 1 centimeter from that bend. So I'm going to grab just to the inside of 1 centimeter mark and bend this up at a bit of an angle to match the bottom angle. And now we're going to do the same here, grabbing at about 1 centimeter with my chain nose pliers just below it. And then I'm going to bend that wire back toward the center, crossing over. I'm going to bend this one down a little bit more to match the other side. And there you can see, got my shape. And here is my tiger's eye stone that fits perfectly in there. Now I'm going to grab a hold of all these wires tightly and bend that left side wire over the top of the right side. And then I'm going to bend that back wire over the top of the left wire. So there you can see they've intersected each other. And now inserting my index finger and middle finger inside that frame, I'm bending this wire around itself to cross over like this. And again, we're going to check this stone and see that it fits in there well. And now I'm going to continue wrapping this around one more time. So we want to go around one full time and make a little spiral on the top of this key. Like that. Now I'm going to create my loop where the key ring is going to attach to this key. So here you can see I'm just looping it around and making a circle with this wire. Like this. And there you can see that one is done. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the back side of the key with the other wire. And I'm going to try to match it up as best as I can with the other side. So I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and adjust as I need to. And then bring that wire back up. And there you can see how they touch each other on top. And then measuring right where the wires intersect each other at the bottom of that little loop, and about 2.5 centimeters from the end, I'm going to snip that off, or 2.5 centimeters from the bottom of that intersection of the loop, and then snip that off. And then the same thing on the other side, again measuring from where those wires intersect, going at about 2.5 centimeters. I'm going to flush cut the end of that wire off. There we go. And we're just going to make a last little adjustments, making sure those wires are good. Now grabbing my bench block, I'm going to flatten this little key. So I'm going to hammer all of the frame all the way around. And there you can see that we've got it all completely hammered, and this just hardens our piece as well as brings a little shine to it. Now we're going to grab that 20 gauge wire cut at 15 centimeters in length and that stone, and we're going to put that through. So we're going to put the wire down under the left side of the frame and over the top of the right side of the frame, as you can see here. So the left side is under, the right side is on top. Now we're going to take this left side and bend it over the frame like so, and then pull that bead back off so it's out of our way. And while holding the frame, we're going to tuck the left side of that wire back under, and we're going to wrap the frame. So there is one full wrap around the frame. Now this is 20 gauge wire, so it's a little bit tough, and sometimes we need to use the pliers to help us. And there's our second wrap. And the third wrap. We're just going to start with 3 wraps on this side. And now I'm going to press those wraps together using my chain nose pliers. And making sure that wrap is tight. And now we're going to do the same on the back side, pressing those wraps nice and snug up against each other and making sure it's tight. Now we're going to grab that tiger's eye stone bead and slide it back onto the wire into the center part of the top of that key. Now here we're going to grab our wire and go back under the frame and back up through it. So finding that little gap. With my chain nose pliers, I'm going to pull this wire through and taut. Just like that. And now we're going to wrap this again a second time. And here you can see I'm going to use my chain nose pliers to help me pull that wire through. And making sure it's tight and snug. Doing a third wrap. And now I'm going to do a 4th wrap. And a 5th. There are 5 wraps there. I missed one somewhere. And here we're going to snug those up nice and tight, just like that. And now on the left side, we need to add 2 more wraps. So here's 1 wrap. I'm going to snug that and tighten it up nice and tight. And do another wrap. Our final wrap. Like so. We're going to snug those wraps up against each other using the chain nose pliers on both sides. And now we're going to grab the flush cutters and we're just going to snip off the tail ends of these wires. And I'm going to flush cut that. And then with my chain nose pliers, I'm going to burnish that wire up against the frame. What I mean by that is I'm going to grab it and kind of twist it as I push it down against the frame, making sure that it's not going to snag or pull or be sharp. Now I'm going to tighten this last little wrap a little bit more before I flush cut that one off. And here I'm going to snip the end of that wire close to that frame. And then with my chain nose pliers, I'm going to snug the wraps once again and then burnish this wire down. And here you can see there's still a little bit of a tail there. Do you see that? So I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and push it down in there. Don't want any little edges poking out because they will catch on something. And there you can see it's flush up against the frame of that key. And here you can see we've got that stone put on there, but notice this stone turns and we don't want that unless you like a spinner or a fidget spinner type thing. But we're going to lock the stone in using the excess wire from the loop at the top of the key. So grabbing my round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the end of one of those wires and make a little loop at the end. Then readjust and keep turning that loop in a little bit. And then I'm going to turn it toward the center top part of the stone, while holding that loop in place so it doesn't come out of shape. And there you can see we've got a nice cute little loop on the top of that stone. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Grabbing the end of this wire, twisting that wire all the way around the barrel of that round nose plier until it touches, and then readjust the pliers and bending it some more. At the same time, turning that wire in over the stone. Now I'm going to adjust the top of these loops and get them to line up with each other. And make sure we get that nice round loop that we had. Sometimes moving them around misshapes them a bit, so we're going to fix that. Now I'm going to grab the inside of this loop and just turn it back toward the center, like so. And here you can see that that stone is not going anywhere now. It's trapped in there, so it can't spin. And now we need to add our keychain. So at the end of this little keychain, there is a jump ring. In order to open our jump rings, we need to use a couple pair of pliers. So I'm going to use my chain nose pliers and my flathead pliers. grabbing each side, and then I'm going to twist that open. And then I'm going to put the top of my key where the loops are onto that jump ring. And then I'm going to twist this back closed. Like so. And there you can see that's nice and closed up. And there is the finished product. I just love the way this turned out. So what did you guys think of this project? You could sure create your own piece and not even put the tiger's eye stone. You could use a different stone. You could do a wire word going across the top part of that key. You could even do some wire weaving with this frame. It's totally up to you, and you could just be completely creative. Let me know in the comments below how you would make yours creative and unique just for you. If you guys enjoyed watching, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It sure would help my channel out, and I look forward to seeing y'all next Thursday.